Hello, and thank you for tuning in to Tech Talk Tuesday. My name is Brian Mursky, and I am the owner of Veranda Technologies. We're here in Brick Township, New Jersey, and we service Monmouth, Ocean, and all of the other counties around us in New Jersey. So this, you can tell already, looks a little different, and I'm not sure how the camera is going to handle the low light conditions that we have. I'm pretty certain the audio will be okay. The visuals might be off a bit, like you're watching a bad Japanese remake of a movie. So we just finished taping the Tech Talk Tuesday for tomorrow, which is actually probably going to end up being a week before you see this, because we lost power. And it dawned on me that that's a topic great to cover this time of year, because as the winter approaches and storms hit, people lose power. We are working in the dark, as you can tell, in our basement. The generator is on the front porch, making an awful lot of noise, as generators do. And we've had this generator since Superstorm Sandy back in 2012. Our area had no power for about 3 weeks. We fortunately only had power out for, I think, 8 days, 6 or 8 days. Then it came back on, then it was out for a couple days, and then it was back on permanently. We were pretty fortunate only to have to deal with about a week's worth of no power. And we had a generator for most of that. Once our power came back on, we loaned it. So I just thought I'd talk about generators for a couple minutes, because they are incredibly handy if you happen to have one. We keep in our garage a very large containers. They're 6-gallon containers. So that's the first thing to note. If you don't have a whole house or whole business generator, you're going to be using something like what's pictured on the video here. We have a storm responder. It's a Lowe's or Home Depot special, and they won't power. I could probably power my refrigerator off of it short term. It won't power the AC in the house. It would power the furnace in this case. You don't want to use microwaves or hair dryers, curling irons, vacuum cleaners on it, but it's great for keeping the lights on. We're actually obviously using it now to keep the computer running, and we are simultaneously working on a client's issue up in North Jersey near Kinnelon, project that we had scheduled for tonight and had to keep rolling because the client was there with their staff, expecting us to do work. So as soon as the power went out, I fired up the generator, ran some extension cords down the steps into the basement, and started plugging things in. So we are powering now. I could probably plug in a lamp, by the way. This had greater effect being in the dark, but LED bulbs draw almost nothing, so I could plug a lamp in at some point here. The generator is powering our router, firewall, our modem, and our switch, our network equipment, and that gets us online, provided Comcast is not down, and they're not tonight. It's just a power outage, not a cable outage. So we have those 3 devices on, as well as a computer and 3 of our 4 monitors. So we're able to operate, we're able to do this video, despite the fact that our entire neighborhood, in fact our whole section of town, the whole north section of town right now, for those that know the area, from Route 70 all the way down Herbertsville Road to the reservoir, and then slightly west to Lanes Mill Elementary School, that whole area is out. No power. It's completely black. If you walk outside right now, there's nothing to see. But we're up. We're running. Online, like I said, connected to a server in way up in North Jersey, doing reboots and installs of software to knock down a project that's been on our list for a bit and scheduled for tonight. So I was going to talk a little bit about fuel, because if you're running a generator, again, not a natural gas generator, but a gasoline powered, like gas that goes in your car generator like we run, you need to make sure that you have enough fuel. That's all that you need to keep things running for as long as you need it running. The only other thing I have plugged in right now are a couple of lights upstairs and fish tank heater to keep the water in the fish tank from getting too cold, because it is winter, and our furnace is not plugged in, so the house is going to get cold pretty rapidly tonight. It's cold outside. The fuel situation during Superstorm Sandy We scored this generator. We got very lucky. And quickly realized how much fuel they use, and only had a 1.25 gallon lawnmower fuel tank, which is a pretty standard size. 1.25 gallon is a pretty standard size. A lot of people also have 2 gallon. 2 gallons, though, you could get a day maybe on a generator depending on what you're powering, but not much longer than that. And if you want to be able to run a refrigerator for a while or plug the furnace in, it's going to suck that fuel down pretty quickly. During Sandy, one thing that I noticed was that despite a state of emergency on travel and school buses blocking intersections because the lights weren't working, they went through great efforts to keep people from traveling. There was a FedEx truck on my street Wednesday morning, so 2 days after Sandy. And it dawned on me that if FedEx could deliver and Amazon was up, they're not down, if I could get my cable modem working, which I did with the small amount of fuel I had, I could go onto Amazon, and even though all of the stores here in New Jersey were sold out of these bright red gas cans, there were stores in Minnesota and stores in Arizona and stores in California that had plenty of them. So I went online and I ordered some 6-gallon gas cans, 3 of them. So I have those 3, plus a 2-gallon, plus a 1.25 gallon that I use for the lawnmower. So I can hold in my garage about 20 gallons of fuel, a little over 20 gallons of fuel. Rough math, I could probably run the generator for a week before needing fuel. A little bit more if we're conservative and unplug things when we don't need them. At least a week if I were sloppy and just powered up everything I needed and kept it going. So handy to have, again, if you have the money for one or can save for one. If you're in an area that's prone to lose power, we lose power frequently. We probably would have bought it during Sandy anyway, because back then the expectation was it could be weeks before we got power back. And this generator, I think, cost me $900. It was not inexpensive by any stretch, but it also wasn't, it's not break the bank. It's not a $10,000 or $15,000 whole house unit. It's $900, stays in the garage, it never gets used until the power goes out, which for us is 5 or 6 times a year. So if we lose power for even a couple hours, this whole area is built on sand. So if you get sand, if you get a little bit more wind or a little bit more water than normal, poles just start to snap. They're in sand. It's not your typical environment, and poles tend to go down. They take lines with it. We lose power. So though we talk about generators, again, if it's an option, if you have any questions about sizing them out, you can certainly drop us an email at helpdesk@verandatech.com, or give me a call anytime you like, 732-743-5772. Happy to answer any questions you have about wattage, amperage, how big you need it to be to power certain types of appliances. Otherwise, have a great week. We will see you next time on Tech Talk Tuesday.